There was a poor little girl who lived alone with her mother, and they no longer had anything to eat. So the girl went into the forest to find something to eat, and there an old woman met her. She knew of the girl's sorrow. She presented her with a little pot, which when she said, "Little pot, cook," would cook good, sweet millet porridge. And when she said, "Little pot, stop," it stopped cooking. The girl took the pot home to her mother. And now they were freed from their poverty and hunger, and ate sweet porridge as often as they chose. One time, when the girl had gone out, her mother said, "Little pot, cook," and it did cook, and she ate until she was full, and then she wanted the pot to stop cooking, but didn't know the word. So it went on cooking, and the porridge rose over the edge, and still it cooked on until the kitchen and whole house were full. And then the next house, and then the whole street, just as if it wanted to satisfy the hunger of the whole world. It was terrible, and no one knew how to stop it. At last, when only one single house remained, the girl came home and just said, "Little pot, stop," and it stopped cooking, and anyone who wished to return to the town had to eat his way back. There was once a mother duck. This mother duck lived on a farm. In her nest she had 5 little eggs and 1 big egg. One day the 5 little eggs started to crack. Tap, tap, tap. 5 pretty yellow baby ducklings came out. Then the big egg started to crack. Bang, bang, bang. 1 big ugly duckling came out. "That's strange," thought the mother duck. But the mother duck promised herself that she would love all her children the same. She led her children into the nearby pond and began to teach each duckling how to be a proper duck. She taught them how to quack. Each duckling quacked. Quack, quack, quack. The ugly duckling quacked. Quack. All of the ducks in the pond began to laugh. The nearby ducks swam by and pecked at the ugly duckling's feathers. "This one looks nothing like your others," one jested. "This one is ugly," the other scoffed. The ugly duckling hung his head in shame. The mother duck became very embarrassed of her ugly duckling and made him stay in the corner of the pond while the others practiced swimming, diving, quacking and splashing. Nobody wanted to play with him. "Go away," said his brothers and sisters. "You are ugly." The ugly duckling was sad, so he went to find some new friends, but no one wanted to be his friend. So the little ugly duckling ran away. It started to get cold. It started to snow. The ugly duckling found an empty barn and lived there. He was cold, sad and alone. Many days and nights passed. The ugly duckling had survived the cold winter. He was growing larger. His feathers were coming in, and the ugly duckling was able to fly off the ground. Then spring came. With spring, all of the frozen ponds melted. The ugly duckling left the barn and went back to the pond. He was very thirsty and put his beak into the water. He saw a beautiful white bird. "Wow," he said, "who's that?" "It's you," said another beautiful white bird. The ugly duckling saw a family of the most beautiful birds he had ever seen, swans. "Me? But I'm an ugly duckling." "Not anymore. You're a beautiful swan, like me. Do you want to be my friend?" "Yes," he smiled. He entered the water and joined his new family. For the rest of his days, the swan lived happily with his new swan family. Once upon a time, there was a prince who wished to marry a princess, but then she must be a real princess. So he went around the world looking for the right princess to marry, but there was always something wrong. He found none. One stormy night, after the prince came back home, he and his family were having their dinner when there was a commotion outside the castle door. The king went to see what was going on. When he got there, he was surprised to see a young girl drenched. He asked her who was she. She said, "I'm a princess. I was passing through the storm, and the horses got frightened and dragged my carriage into slush and mud." Nobody who looked at the young girl could believe that she could ever be a princess. She looked like a poor peasant girl. The prince asked the queen whether she is really a princess. The queen said, "We must wait till morning to know it." The queen went to the room prepared for the princess. The queen took out a pea from her pocket and placed it right in the middle of the prince's bed. She ordered the maid to bring 20 mattresses and place them on top of the pea. All night long, the princess didn't get much sleep. In the morning, the queen asked the princess whether she slept well. The princess said, "My bed was really soft, but something was not right, and I got bruises all over my back." The queen was happy because she knew that the girl was a true princess. Only a real princess who has lived all her life in comfort can feel small pea kept under 20 mattresses. She said to the prince that she is the one he had been looking for. Soon the prince was married to the princess of his dream, and they happily lived in the kingdom. Once upon a time, there lived a poor man and woman who had no children. The man used to say, "How dull it is without any children about us. Our house is so quiet, and other people's houses so noisy and merry." "Yes," answered his wife. After a while, the woman had a child who was perfect in all his limbs, but no bigger than a thumb. Because he was so little, they named him Tom Thumb. The parents said, "He is just what we wished for, and we love him very much." The boy became wise and very quick, but he never grew in size, so the parents were very careful that nothing would happen to him. One day, his father made ready to go into the forest to cut wood. And the boy said, "Oh, father, if I can bring the cart, let me sit in the horse's ear and give it directions." "Well," answered the father, "we will try it for once." So the horse went on quite as if his master were driving him. When the two strangers saw Tom Thumb, they were struck dumb with wonder. One said, "Look here, the little chap would make our fortune if we were to show him in the town for money. Suppose we buy him." So they said, "Sell the little man to us. We will take care of him." "No," answered the father. "He is the apple of my eye, and not for all the money in the world would I sell him." But Tom Thumb jumped on his father's shoulder and whispered in his ear, "Father, you might as well let me go. I will soon come back again." Then the father gave him up to the two men for a large piece of money, and they traveled on until it grew dusk. The man took him down from his head, and he ran away directly, and he slipped into a mouse hole, just what he was looking for. By good fortune, he came upon an empty snail shell. "That's all right. Now I can get safely through the night," he said. Then he heard two men pass by, and one was saying to the other, "How can we manage to get hold of the rich parson's gold and silver?" "I can tell you how," cried Tom Thumb. "How is this?" said one of the thieves, quite frightened. "I hear some one speak." So they stood still and listened, and Tom Thumb spoke again. "Take me with you. I will show you how to do it." "Where are you?" asked they. "Look about on the ground and follow my voice, and you will find me." At last they found him and lifted him up. "You little elf," said they, "how can you help us?" "Look here, I can easily creep between the iron bars of the parson's room and hand out to you whatever you would like to have." "Very well," said they, "we will try what you can do." So, when they came to the parsonage house, Tom Thumb crept into the room, but cried out within his might, "Will you have all that is here?" So the thieves were terrified and said, "Do speak more softly, lest anyone should be awaked." But Tom Thumb made he did not hear them and cried out again, "What would you like?" "Will you have all that is here?" So that the cook, who was sleeping in a room hard by, heard it and raised herself in bed and listened. The thieves, however, in their fear of being discovered, had run back part of the way, but they took courage again, thinking that it was only a jest of the little fellows. So they came back and whispered to him to be serious and to hand them out something. Then Tom Thumb called out once more, as loud as he could, "Oh yes, I will give it all to you, only put out your hands." Then the listening maid heard him distantly that time and jumped out of bed and burst open the door. The thieves ran off as if the wild huntsman were behind them. In the morning Tom Thumb woke up by a cow who had taken him up with the hay, and at last he found himself in the cow's stomach. "Help me, I'm stuck inside the cow!" Tom Thumb started yelling, hoping that someone would hear him. The maid was then milking the cow, and as she heard a voice but could see no one, and as it was the same voice that she had heard in the night, she was so frightened that she fell off her stool and spilled the milk. She ran to her master crying, "Oh, master, the cow spoke!" "You must be crazy," answered her master, and he went himself to the cowhouse to see what was the matter. Tom Thumb had great trouble when a new misfortune happened. A hungry wolf ran up and swallowed the whole stomach at one gulp. But Tom Thumb did not lose courage. "Perhaps," thought he, "the wolf will listen to reason," and he cried out from the inside of the wolf. He decided to make the wolf bring him home. "My dear wolf, I can tell you where to get bacon and ham, as much as you can eat," and he described to him his father's house. The wolf needed not to be told twice. "Look here," cried the little man. "You are very well satisfied, and now I will do something for my own enjoyment," and began again to make all the noise he could. At last the father and mother were awakened, and they ran to the room door, and they saw a wolf. Tom Thumb heard his father's voice and cried, "Dear father, I am here in the wolf's inside, so be careful not to kill me," said Tom. His father killed the wolf and then cut him open to get Tom Thumb out of it. The father called out full of joy and told his wife, "Thank heaven that we have found our dear child," and they gave him something to eat and drink and new clothes and lived happily ever after together. Raba the Hen. It is a very short folk tale about the old man and the old woman and their hen Raba. The giant turnip. The story is about the enormous turnip, and only with the help of the weakest and smallest creature, the mouse, can the giant turnip be pulled up. So, if we all work together, we can do anything. The Three Little Pigs. The story begins with the title characters being sent out into the world by their mother to seek out their fortune. The Gingerbread Bun. The gingerbread bun has a round form similar to a ball. The story describes his meetings with the different animals who intend to eat him, but only the fox ate the gingerbread bun. Little Red Riding Hood. The story is about a young girl and a big bad wolf who wants to eat the girl and the food in the basket. The tale makes the clearest contrast between the safe world of the village and the dangers of the forest. Goldilocks and the Three Bears. A little girl enters the forest home of the three bears while they are away. When the bears return and discover her, she jumps out of the window. The Wooden House. There stood a small wooden house in the field. 5 animals began living together there, but the big bear crushed the house, and the animals ran away in different directions. The Wolf and the 7 Little Goats. A mother goat leaves her 7 kids at home and warns them about the big bad wolf. The young children will be able to recognize their true mother by her sweet voice. Cinderella. The story is about an ill-treated girl who, with the help of her fairy godmother, travels to a ball in a pumpkin coach. A prince has fallen in love with her, finds her lost slipper, and uses it later to find the girl. The Snow Queen. The story centers on the struggle between good and evil, as experienced by Gerda and her friend Kai.